Well, so mote it be. I've been working on a series of tapes for those that have asked over the years for me to have something to say about Thomas and to please help interpret some of the verses. They all have some significance or they wouldn't be there. Each is another shade of color. All of them are saying the same thing, essentially. All speak to the singleness of the ineffable Godhead and its self-action, its self-being, its self-living, which is this very awareness we are, this life we are, and the life that all is. It's mind, not meaning the human mind as the humanist would put it, but the divine mind, God mind, being this awareness we are. Now, the humanist would say, well, what's wrong with this human sense of mind being God mind? If God mind is all, then this me sense must be God sense. Well, it's a subtle argument, and it is difficult to find the words, or it takes an awful lot of explaining to point out that this awareness right here is God life, is not the sum total of mind, but is the functioning of mind. And that so long as tangibility is one's bailiwick, as long as we are concerned with tangibility, then as awareness, and identified as awareness, we see that there is a basic dualism. Oh boy, I can hear the metaphysician screaming now, and the absolutist screaming now. But that basic dualism, the two that are one, is mind and its self-awareness, or mind and its functioning. Mind and its functioning are one mind, but this awareness is not all there is to mind. There is an ineffable presence, being more than this life I am. More than this awareness, yet this awareness belongs to the ineffable Godhead and is God's action going on right here, right now. The humanist would say, but where is your proof that there is something beyond this mind right here, right now? Well, I have my proofs. I've written of them. Most intransigent mortal concept. I can point out that there is an ineffable that even reason and logic must concede, at least as a possibility. But of course, reason and logic will not live that possibility exclusively until it's been forced to, until all of its cherished beliefs have been shaken, until its very being is threatened. And my goodness, we look around the world now and we see how that being is threatened. We see how the human sense of self is threatened. Those who have a budget of so many dollars a week and are accustomed to certain amenities purchased by those dollars, and who are also conscious that it's necessary to save a little bit for what appears to be one's old age, one's retirement, or to save simply for a vacation, or a set of tires for the car, or something. And they have this little budget each week, and they go to the grocery store, and last week the can was marked 49 cents, and this week it is marked 79 cents. Last year, the item was marked 99 cents, and this year it is marked $2.10. They go to the service station to get a gallon of gasoline, and a couple of 3 years ago it was marked 35 cents. and now it is $1.35 and going up rapidly. Well, the human sense of simple survival is faced with an economic problem. Oh, but more than that, as one picks up the morning paper, we find out that the very air we breathe is laden with carcinogens, that the very water we drink is filled with cancer-producing chlorine or something else. We find that the plastic we touch, the preservatives in our food, that everything has become a threat to life. So at every turn of the road, we find the human sense of well-being buckling. Why? The jet stream has changed, we hear. Weather is changing, we hear. Even the rain that's falling is acid, and it's destroying certain trees and certain crops. Why? The plankton in the ocean isn't producing the necessary food. The whole cycle, the whole life cycle is threatened. Its food supply, the long chain, has been broken. Oh, we hear all that. Then we hear that we're running out of energy. And here, pressed with our budget, as we are, comes the power bill that was $30. The gas bill that was last year $30, and this year it's $50. And even the water bill. Water, living water, God's water. Even the water bill is doubled. And we hear that we're running out of even this expensive gasoline. But always there's the hope. The human hope hangs in that another source of energy will present itself. As a metaphysician, of course, we know that the only energy that exists is the functioning of mind, or mind's energy, and that it is inexhaustible, and that all that is necessary for the sustenance of life is being this life, and we live that sustenance. We live that alreadiness. We live that sufficiency to find that we are provided for in ways past finding out. One might say, well, there's plenty of sunshine today, but we hear that there's a sunspot cycle that has reached its 23-year peak, and that very 3-year peak is right now. We're being bathed in harmful rays that we are not normally bathed with and that cause this and cause that. These are the things we read about the human experience. But all the things we read about the human experience or think about the human experience have no more reality in them, so far as the ineffable is concerned, than last night's dream had. And yet, even last night's dream was for a purpose. Consequently, this human drama is for a purpose. The human sense of self is the means by which the divine selfhood is made plain. This isn't to say that the human sense of self is the divine selfhood, but rather it is its delineation, the means by which it is made clear, just as darkness is the means by which light is made plain. We do not venerate matter and say that it is the appearing of God. Rather, we understand that tangibility is intangibility, delineated. Matter is like the shadow that leads straight away to the tree of life. and serves that purpose. We may call it unreal, but it certainly has a purpose in the scheme of things. We honor that purpose, and then that which was hidden becomes revealed. We examine the tangibility before our eyes, knowing that only good is being that, then that which is hidden is revealed. At least that's how it works in this experience I call me, and I've seen it work that way in the experience of others as confirmation. I see no reason to disbelieve the goodness I see. Why? It would be silly, would it not, to deny the beauty I see round about? I cannot gainsay the grand joy I be. I look at the beauty that is round about. You know, it hasn't always been like this for me. It seems that it's been helpful for me to tell that to those who come through. But as a soldier, it must be clear that the world was not very beautiful to me. Trees that I love so now, trees were awful things. To a soldier, at times they were shelter, yes. They were things to lie down beside. They were things that could stop a bullet. But they were awful because mortar shells and artillery shells would burst in their branches, and no matter how deeply one was dug in down at their roots, there was no protection. So trees weren't friends then, and I didn't see anything beautiful about trees at all. Yet in Korea, the trees made our bunkers. We lined our trenches with trees to keep the trenches from caving in. And the bunkers were covered with earth, so they did form a source of protection. But I saw trees then as a means to stave off some kind of horrible mangling. And what about rivers? I love rivers so now. I see such beauty there now, the rivers of life, like grand arteries flowing through the countryside. But once upon a time, rivers were obstacles. We would lie down on one side of a river and defend it to keep people from coming across. Or we would approach a river and we would have to prepare to cross it against someone lying down on the other side, prepared to keep us from crossing it. And what about mountains? I thought mountains were just something. You know, I thought mountains were something that I had to climb up. Oh, gosh. And fight our way up to the top. So in Korea, the enemy, so-called enemy, occupied the high ground, and we were very often in the low ground. And it was necessary for us to go from the low ground to the high ground and run them down into the low ground where we could fire down on their heads as they had fired down upon our heads. So mountains were awful things. I've had some interesting experiences with mountains. In China, riding a horse along a very narrow trail along the edge of a precipitous mountainside, the horse slipped and fell over, and I went with it, and we tumbled a great distance. And the horse was killed. And I came up without a scratch because I landed on the horse. The horse saved my human sense of self. I remember I had to have help to get back up to the ledge, and on my way back up, each item that had come off of me on the way down, I found. Dark glasses in one little clump, a fountain pen in another little clump, a Bible I carried in my shirt pocket in another clump, each protected there as though someone had placed it there. And I found them on the way back. Another mountain I remember being pursued by an enemy patrol. Then I remember the Korean mountains. I remember vultures' roost named Vulture's Roost because we were unable to get our casualties out. And the vultures came in to help us carry them out. But now I see mountains for what they are. And the earth, just the simple earth. Once upon a time, the simple earth was something for me to dig a hole in, to try to keep alive, or else to dig a hole in, to put someone's body in it. My goodness, this doesn't sound very metaphysical, does it? It isn't very metaphysical. The truth doesn't have anything to do with metaphysics aside from the fact that there is a grand reversal, a grand repentance, and that is the metaphysics that is the truth. In Thomas is this verse, that the kingdom of heaven is like the man who went fishing and he pulled forth a lot of fish. But in the midst of this lot of fish, there was one good fish. And he kept the one good fish. And he threw away all the rest without regret. Well, in all of this vast panorama of materiality that we call the world, it's like that bunch of fish. But somewhere around us, somewhere always very close at hand, somewhere always within sight or sound, no matter where we go or what we're doing, even in the midst of combat, somewhere there is the good fish in the midst of it. That is, somewhere there's a bit of beauty, somewhere there's a bit of truth that we can latch on to and savor. Somewhere there is a butterfly flying. And you know what? Right just a month or so ago, right in the midst of the coldest snap we've had, with the temperatures down below 10 degrees, right here at Woodsong, I looked out one day and there went a butterfly. And I was so excited about it all, I called a neighbor, and she had seen it too. And so where that strange butterfly came from in the midst of all that cold and how it was surviving, I don't know, but it was here. A butterfly, one of the little yellow sulfur butterflies, perhaps late emerging from its cocoon, and it took the sunshine of one day to take flight. Ah, that was the one good fish in the midst of them, and that wise fisherman threw away all the rest without regret. Yeah, I savored that yellow butterfly and wondered how in the world it could, against all natural odds, survive. Oh, right now in the midst of all this, I can see so many good fish, and I can let the rest go. I can let the morning newspaper go. I can let all of the cries of doom and gloom go. And I can keep the one. I can take the pearl that is in the midst of the field. And I can be a passerby to the rest of it. And in being a passerby to the rest, I can then understand what the doom and gloom is really about, what the anguish is really saying. Well, so much for this talk this morning.